Let's take a look now at the Cowboys free agency moves and losses. We'll start here with some of the players the Cowboys re-signed or tendered or tagged before free agency really got underway. And we start with the Cowboys' actual big move. That was DeMarcus Lawrence. I know it doesn't really count because he was franchise tagged. He was on the team last year, but keeping Lawrence was the number one priority for the Cowboys. They franchise tagged him. He's not going anywhere, at least for this season. Next up is David Irving. Now, he was hit with a second-round tender by the Cowboys, going to count just under $3 million in cap space for this coming season. Has to play in all 16 games. David Irving wants to get paid in a big, big way. If he can do that and can stay on the field and produce at the same level he produced that in very limited playing time last year with 7 sacks in like half a season, he's going to get paid in a big way. Speaking of defensive linemen, Brian Price also re-signed. He was an exclusive rights free agent, means the Cowboys say, hey, here's your contract offer, sign it or don't play in the NFL next year. 2 years, $1.35 million with no guaranteed money. That is a guy who's going to compete for a backup spot at the one technique or nose guard position. Next up is LP LaDouceur, the long snapper, a name that we don't know that well, and that's a good thing because he's never had a bad snap with the Dallas Cowboys. LP signed what is in reality a 1-year, just over $1 million deal, aka the vet minimum. As long as he wants to keep playing, as long as he's not making bad snaps, he should be on the Cowboys roster. And then one final re-signing on the offensive line, it was Joe Looney. Didn't play a whole lot last year, just 94 snaps, was the team's top backup interior offensive lineman. 2 years, $2.1 million, only a little bit guaranteed. I think he'll compete for a backup offensive line spot. So to recap, here are the players the Cowboys re-signed: DeMarcus Lawrence, David Irving, Brian Price, and then LP LaDouceur, the long snapper, and then, of course, finally, Joe Looney, the offensive guard. Let's take a look now at some of the players the Cowboys cut and lost this offseason. First up, Benson Mayowa. He was cut by the Cowboys to save just under $3 million in cap space, had just the 1 sack, has not signed with a new team yet, was kind of a no-brainer. Frankly, I'm surprised the Cowboys haven't actually gone out and cut James Hanna yet either. That's been one of the big surprises to me this offseason. Maybe a more notable cut was cornerback Orlando Scandrick. He was cut after June 1st, saving the team about $3 million in cap space, and then quickly signed a deal with the Washington Redskins. I get why people love Scandrick. He has been a long time and a key part of the Cowboys secondary, but in reality, he had become a progress inhibitor for the Cowboys with young guys like Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, Chidobe Awuzie, and now Byron Jones as well. But I do want to know from you guys, did the Cowboys make the right call in cutting Scandrick? I think they did. I know it sucks to see him go join the Redskins, an arch rival of the Cowboys, very quickly after that, but it was indeed the right decision. To recap the cuts, Benson Mayowa, you can throw in defensive tackle Joe Vellano as well, but he was a futures guy, did not have his merit enough to earn his own player card there. Scandrick, of course, was also cut. Now to the players lost in free agency, not the guys who were cut, but the players who left to go sign with other teams. First up, Anthony Hitchens, and he got a really weird deal. I still don't get it from the Chiefs' perspective. 5 years, $45 million, 25 plus of that is guaranteed. Look, I like Hitchens. I think he's a good number 2/number 3 linebacker. He is not going to be the best linebacker on your team. Why are you paying him like that? It was an overpay there. I would have liked Hitchens back for the Cowboys, but at like half the price tag that he got from the Chiefs. So congrats to Anthony for getting that massive contract, but that's too much money for me, and I think the Cowboys felt the exact same way. One player Dallas didn't really want to lose was Keith Smith, and he ended up signing a deal that makes him among the top 5 highest paid players at the fullback position at 2 years, $4.2 million. The Cowboys could have tendered him as a restricted free agent. They didn't do that, hoping they could re-sign him to a cheaper long-term deal. Didn't end up happening. As a result, the Cowboys lost him. They got somebody else as fullback, and we'll discuss him in just a little bit. Also going to Oakland was Kyle Wilber. Now, he is a special teams guy and is going to go join the former Cowboys special teams coach Rich Bisaccia in Oakland. 2 years, $2.75 million. Almost $1.5 million of that money is guaranteed. He brought value to the Cowboys, but I think he's easily replaceable in the draft. Joe Thomas also got a similar contract. I think can play that same type of role. So, yes, it's a loss, but I don't think it's one that you go, oh, man, you know who we really miss? Kyle Wilber. I don't think it's that type of loss there. They did lose one other starter, though, in Jonathan Cooper, the left guard, signed a one-year deal worth almost $5 million with the 49ers. He will compete for a starting job. Cooper was adequate at left guard for the Cowboys. He was playing between two greats in Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick, and was average at best, number 36 guard in the NFL. So a guy you can start, but not a guy I think the Cowboys wanted to have when they want their offensive line to be the best one in the NFL. Don't rule out the Cowboys going early in the draft to pick up a guard. And then one more player the Cowboys lost, a depth corner, Bene Benwikere. He joins the Arizona Cardinals there. I don't think it's going to be a huge loss for Dallas. Marquez White can replace his role, and also watch for the Cowboys to add a player in the draft to compete for that number 5 cornerback role. And to recap here one more time, Anthony Hitchens, Keith Smith, Kyle Wilber, Jonathan Cooper, and Bene Benwikere are all gone as the players the Cowboys lost this offseason here on today's Cowboys Report presented by The Guild. Let's get down to the one player the Cowboys traded for, then we'll dive in to some of those additions that the Cowboys had via free agency signings. At fullback, Jamize Olawale. He is going to replace Keith Smith. Actually was originally with the Cowboys for a while on their practice squad, jumped to Oakland and stayed there since then, and now is back with the Dallas Cowboys. He brings more in terms of the offensive abilities than Keith Smith did. He can catch, he can run a little bit. Smith was a linebacker turned fullback who could block and play special teams. Olawale carries a $1.64 million cap hit. That's the player the Cowboys traded for. Now let's break down their signings. First up is Joe Thomas. This was the Cowboys' first non-trade move in terms of adding players this offseason. He signed a 2-year deal worth about $3.6 million with only just over $500,000 guaranteed. I like this signing now that we know the guaranteed money. He is a backup and a special teamer. That is the role Thomas will play with the Dallas Cowboys. He's kind of a Kyle Wilber / Justin Durant hybrid replacement. Put up good numbers in 2016, but he's not a guy you want starting. He can do some dime and nickel sub packages, but he's not going to be a starter for the Cowboys going forward unless injuries occur, which hopefully doesn't happen. In terms of the grade I give it, look, I think it's a C or a B. I think C in terms of the value and the ability that Thomas brings, but he's cheap, so I guess I'll give it a B there, but he's not a flash signing, a big-name guy that's going to contribute in a massive way to have it earn an A grade. Next up, Deonte Thompson, the wide receiver. He can replace Bryce Butler as your deep threat. 1 year, just under $2 million with about $1 million guaranteed. Look, I'll be honest, I don't get this signing. I don't know why Dallas wanted to throw guaranteed money at a replacement-level wide receiver. Yes, Thompson can fly. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he has some great deep threat ability. But why would you guarantee that guy $1 million and then sign out Hurns as well? So I think it is a D or an F. I don't think he brings any value. Yes, he can take the top off the defense. You can find those guys in the draft. You don't need to pay guaranteed money to a wide receiver who didn't put up that creative numbers and got cut by the Bears, perhaps the worst receiving corps in the NFL. So that is Deonte Thompson. Once again, folks, today's show is brought to you by The Guild. Visit stayguild.com for 15% off your next stay. Think of it as kind of like a luxury Airbnb. Speaking of wide receivers, let's break down Allen Hurns, and this one I thought was an absolutely great signing. Yes, he was limited last year and was banged up, didn't put up great numbers. We saw how good he was, though, in 2015. He will compete, if not outright win, the number 2 wide receiver role for the Cowboys. I think that the contract he signed was an absolute steal. 2 years, $12 million with a $2.5 million signing bonus. That was a fantastic signing. It's an easy A for me. This is why at times you see teams wait in free agency. You don't overpay, and you still get good value with players who, by the way, will not impact the team's compensatory formula because Allen Hurns was cut. Not going to impact the picks the Cowboys get for guys like Anthony Hitchens. Easy A grade for me on Hurns. I love the pickup. I also love the pickup of one Cameron Fleming. I thought he was going to get a lot more money in the open market. Instead, he signed a 1-year, $1.25 million deal with the Cowboys. That is not starting right tackle money, even though I think Fleming can start at right tackle. That is swing tackle money. And we saw a lot of comments throughout the season about Chaz Green, about Byron Bell, about Tyron Smith not being healthy. Cameron Fleming now becomes your insurance if Tyron Smith gets hurt again. Not ideal insurance, but you're not going to pay that much of a premium. It is an easy A signing for me as well. You get a cheap, quality player who can start if needed, and you solidified your depth on the offensive line. I love this signing. I don't know if I love it quite as much as the Allen Hurns signing, but it's also an A for me. So that's the Cameron Fleming edition. One more offensive lineman. That is offensive guard / center Marcus Martin. Did not play for the Browns last year. Has played center and guard in the past. He will compete with Joe Looney for a backup offensive line spot. But look at the contract. No guaranteed money. Thank goodness. That means if Martin, well, is the Martin we've seen in the past, the Cowboys cut him with no real ramifications going forward. So I like the signing of Martin. I'll give it a B because there is no guaranteed money. Thank goodness then. And if there had been, it would have been a C or a D, but they're going to bring him in to be a camp body who could earn a role on the Cowboys offensive line, I think, as a backup. I would be very surprised and concerned if Martin, though, was starting for the Cowboys next season. Before we sign off, folks, get your questions in the comments for an upcoming mailbag. That will do. I don't know if it's going to be Sunday or later next week, but get the comments there on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll grab some of the best ones and use them on an upcoming show. Until then, folks, I am Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney, and we'll see you next time.